Welcome to Commander Central episode 305. Today we'll be talking about an email submitted by a listener, chat about the weekend in Chicago, and our initial thoughts on Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. My name is Max.
And I'm Chris.
Chris, how's it going? It's been a while since we've chatted. You surviving the Arctic temps here in good old Wisconsin?
Yeah, I'm very disappointed with it. I already have a hard enough time right now staying warm for some reason this year. And now it just keeps getting colder and colder and colder, and I'm so over it. Right now I'm wrapped up in a heated blanket, so that's how much of a little baby I'm being.
I have my space heater in my basement running right now, just because of the same reason. It's cranked to 85 just to keep this room warm for when we record, and then when we're done I'll turn it off and it won't get turned on again for another week.
Yeah, buddy.
So Chris, anything new with you? Because, you've been working at the shop. You had a tournament a couple weeks ago, didn't you?
Yeah, I had 1v1. I don't remember if we talked about that.
I don't think we did, so let's talk about it.
So I went 2-2-1. I played Sithis Harvest Hand. The two games that I lost was both to Mono Red, and we played best of 3 matches, or a best of 3, in a match, to get result for winner. The reason I lost to Mono Red both times was in game 3. On the first one, I kept a really bad hand, didn't mulligan properly. And in game 2 of the second time that I played Mono Red, I kept a 1-lander. I remember that one specifically. And this falls back onto what we talked about last week when we were talking about, helping new players and all that. And that is mulliganing. Even people who've been playing a long time, such as myself, have an issue with that. So it is what it is. I enjoyed playing it. I'm looking forward to the next one. We're actually talking about running Two-Headed Giant. And I already have one of my coworkers and I, we've been discussing on doing it. And I've been trying to bounce ideas off of him. He plays a really, really finely tuned Mono Red Carry Zev deck. And I was thinking about playing Mono Red behind him, but playing more of the bigger version. And playing the 3-mana pirate, I just totally forgot her name, that has haste, that creates treasures.
Captain Lannery Storm.
Yep, I thought about doing it that route, just to have as a big mana deck. So I'm playing all the big dragons, big removal spells, that kind of fun jazz. But we'll see if that happens. If not, I might just play Kroxa and play more of a control shell of ripping their hands apart, destroying things on the field that are problemsome, and then just dropping a couple of creatures here and there.
So I remember, I've played in a couple of these formats back in the day at the shop, and you used to be pretty much exclusively Mono Red.
Yep.
That's what you would always play. That's kind of your forte in all formats, to be honest. Is stuff like Marilyn of the Morn Song still good in this type of format, or is that something the shop has banned because of its ability?
So we use the actual official dual commander ban list, which is the French rules, I think is what everyone calls it, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
It is a very, very well thought out list. It's actually very balanced. When we were playing, multiple decks were in the format. Only one of the Mono Red decks made top 8. So that just shows.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that goes to show that. So it was top 8 consisted of a Mono Red, Mono Blue. I think it was what is it? Naya. I couldn't think of what the 3 colors. Blech. Man, I'm having one of those brain fart days today. And then I think Mono White might have been the fourth one of the fourth ones up there. But that was, a very, huge variation in the decks, and it all comes down to how people are playing and what your mulligans are and all that. And since you're only playing at 20 life, you would think that Mono Red's really good, but you're limited because there's certain spells that are banned, in red, Price of Progress is banned, and there's other stuff that's banned, you can't run Ragavan or Zergo as your commander, so you have to run Carry Zev, the next best one, so you're not getting all that value. And then, for instance, with my Sithis deck, you gain so much life and so much card draw that you can just start out-tempoing Mono Red, where they just are down to no cards in hand and no creatures on the battlefield, and then you can just take over.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mono Red's not exclusively going to just, warp the format, and super fast decks don't, so it's pretty much wide open from what I've seen. Although I did not see anyone playing combo, which was really interesting in my opinion. So if someone wants to, brew up a fancy combo deck, I'd be willing to look at it.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds cool. And, there's another tournament coming up, so hopefully you guys will do better in that one.
Oh, destruction is coming.
So if anybody wants to reach out and tell us about their Commander variant games they play, how would they do that, Chris?
Well, you can reach us on a multitude of social media platforms. You can find us on Twitter at CMDR Central. You can search us up on Facebook, CMDR Central. You can find us on YouTube by searching CMDR Central. And you can also find us online at cmdrcentral.com.
You can also head over to patreon.com/CMDR Central. Check out our reward tiers such as a Dexy Play episode or just joining our community to chat and play virtual EDH. And this week we want to say hello and welcome to 3 new patrons, Jason Schiller, Jason Vijanio, and Michael George. I nailed most of those. But thank you.
You might have said Jason's name, the Vijanio.
Yep.
I probably just butchered it right there, but I'm pretty sure you were probably closer than I was.
Oh, well, I apologize. That's what you get when you sub to us. You get to hear me butcher fun names.
Yeah, one of our local shop players subbed to us a couple weeks ago or whatever, and I told him, like, you should put in the most obnoxious name you can just so I can listen to Max butcher it. And he's like, why would I do that? And I'm like, just because I want to hear him butcher it.
Jeez, thanks, Chris. Glad to know that's what's going around the shop right now. And we want to thank everybody who just tunes in every week, hits that thumbs up on YouTube, gives us the rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That means a lot and brings visibility to the show every week. So, Chris, we received an email a couple weeks ago from a listener named Jeff in regards to the WinCons episode you and Dana did. I think that was episode 303.
Yep.
And so what we're going to do here is we're going to read through his email. And in case anybody's wondering, Dana is out today. He's doing some work stuff, so it's just us two. So, we haven't burnt the boat down yet, so let's see what happens. So we'll read through Jeff's email here, and then we'll probably discuss and give our thoughts on some of the topics he brings up. So he wrote, "Hey Commander Central team, I just finished listening to episode 302. See, I even got that wrong. WinCons and EDH, and had a follow-up question for Dana and Chris, and I'd love to hear Max's thoughts as well, since this pertains to his playgroup. What is it about single-turn WinCons that rub people the wrong way? He said, in episode 302, you talk at length about different WinCons, and I couldn't help but notice that Chris and Dana seem to have a particular issue with cards like Laboratory Maniac and Thassa's Oracle. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed to me that the issue is that these cards can win a game in a single turn, whereas something like Infect Damage or Aetherflux Reservoir, which might knock out a single player but not likely the whole table, seem to be okay. As someone who enjoys having a single-turn WinCon in their deck, I like that they give me the ability to come from behind and win, as well as promote playing faster games generally. I've run into similar issues and resistance from my playgroup. The simplest response I've gotten was that my playgroup wants to have the ability to have a turn to respond to the win condition. I can understand that, even if I think that means my playgroup is tapping out too liberally. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Thank you, Jeff." So, Chris, what is it about single-turn WinCons that maybe you're not a fan of? In Commander. Let's talk Commander, because I feel like your opinion is going to be different for other formats.
Okay. So, I'm just going to go brutally honest with this to start with, and most of the time, and we're going to just label this, the Laboratory Maniac Thassa's Oracle WinCon thing right here, because that's what brought up. And I look at it as lazy. That the type of deck that revolves around them is usually lazy. You sit down and it is mono blue wizards with Azami as your general, and you know immediately that it's going to be a Laboratory Maniac WinCon because there's no other way that they can win the game. Usually that is what I see whenever I see those two specific cards as the WinCon, is that it's just a lazy way of playing. All you're doing is you're drawing cards just to do that. You have no interaction with the table. You're not doing anything else to, proceed game state, of the game overall in a 4-player game. Now, whereas, we're talking about the other cards like Infect Damage and Aetherflux Reservoir, that are one-shot kills. Those do take a little bit more of setup because you need to protect stuff, you need to do this, need to do that, blah, 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 to take everyone out. That's usually my biggest issue with them. The second biggest issue I have with them, and, I'm still going to just, lump those two cards together, is that the people who play those decks usually are under-talking their decks, or like underselling it. So they're taking that deck and they're saying, okay, this is what I'm presenting this deck as, and then I'm just going to combo off. And then I'm going to feel good about myself. Now, I'm not labeling you, Jeff, as, this type of player, but I've seen this in my local shop where if this doesn't happen, if they can't get their combo off, they go around and they pout and they stomp off. And that's another thing that rubs me the wrong way, is that people who play these types of cards, from my experience, are usually along the lines of a worst type of Magic player that I don't want to be associated with. That kind of like, they make the game feel worse than what it is, and they actually give it a bad taste in my mouth. And now, like I said, I'm not saying that that's you, Jeff, by any means, but that is the reason for me I do not like those two cards as one-turn combo cards. Now, there are many other ones that are, your one-turn combos that set up, to do stuff, and those I enjoy seeing. For instance, I used to play Sliver Queen, and I could do one-turn combo to set up for infinite tokens that have haste and indestructible and all that, but that takes time because I have to have certain key pieces out. Whereas, let's lump Laboratory Maniac and Thassa's Oracle in there. You need just one card. One card to completely stop a game and win a game, even if it's like 12 people playing, which I don't think is completely fair at the same time. Now, if you're willing to play this, with us, and you're like, okay, I'm going to combo off, and let's say it's like turn 3 or 4, and it's like, okay, I win, but you know what? You guys finish up the game, and I'll go jump in a different pod. That I enjoy a lot, too. Because then people are saying, I had, the fun time, I got my win, and now I'm going to go play with someone else. So those are my personal issues with it. I know there's many more issues with it, but, like I said, I don't want to lump you per se, because I don't know you personally, into what I've seen. So you may be a different person, you may play it different, but from what your play group is saying, it kind of feels like they are of the same mindset where, well, I don't get to respond and you're just playing this super aggressive deck, but, and maybe you guys are all playing the same way. So if they're not complaining about it that way, then, maybe they just suck at playing. That could be that.
Chris, I think you brought up a lot of great points there. And from my point of view, because I wasn't on this episode, so I'm really glad we chose to talk about this today. You used a word that I kind of agree with, is lazy. I think cards like Laboratory Maniac, Thassa's Oracle, and there's 2 or 3 other ones that care about you decking yourself. There's the Jace, and there's the new Laboratory Maniac from one of the new Innistrad sets. I think these are the cards that, when used appropriately, and maybe sparingly, they're fine. And by that, I mean, you have a mill deck, Chris.
Yes.
You probably run Labman.
I do not, actually.
Okay, well...
I do run the Jace, though.
Okay, so you run the Jace. You run one of these effects. Yep. Let's put it like that.
And the reason I run the Jace is because the Jace actually forces a mill off of one of his abilities. The bottom ability, or the static ability where you can win the game, it is what it is.
Yep.
It's more for the other abilities within it.
Right. I think when you are using these cards in a very specific deck, like a mill deck, I think they're fine. I think that's where they belong.
Yes.
My personal experience with these cards, because I'm sure in my past I've built a blue deck with a Labman or a Jace or a Thassa's Oracle if it had been out back then. I probably have done that and tore the deck apart. What I have seen, though, in my tenure of playing EDH is you get the players that maybe don't get the cues that, this is not a fun way for the table to see you win. And that leads to them going, okay, I have this mill deck. I'm going to put all 4 of those effects in there. Cool, I understand that. Well, now I'm going to go build this Simic deck that's supposed to be about, big stompy creatures, but because it has blue, I'm going to put a Labman in there anyways because I'm going to draw cards, theoretically.
Yep.
And that's what kind of where my biggest thing is when it comes to laziness is it turns to these players that says, well, I'm playing blue, I might as well just put it in the deck. It's kind of like a security blanket, even if, I think we've looked at decks in the past where, it's 2-color, 3-color. It's not really doing mill. It doesn't have a lot of draw in the deck in general, but there's still a Labman in there just in case. I think these type of cards outside of the dedicated decks like mill or something like that are like training wheels. That's kind of how I view them, is I'm going to put this in here because I've seen it win with other people, not understanding that their deck was set up to use these type of cards, which I think that's what Jeff's deck does. They're used to, secure that win. I don't know what deck it is, what type of deck it is, but just by reading this email, I think, I don't think Jeff is the person that puts it in every single one of his decks. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but I'm going to take the benefit of the doubt and say he probably only has 1 or 2 decks that uses this as a win con. I agree. I think it's lazy, and I kind of think it's not creative enough as a win con when it's not in a dedicated mill type deck. But I also, you brought up another good point about there are other 1-turn win cons, or maybe half a turn win cons, or maybe 2-turn win cons that we all run. Like I run Blood Bond in my Regna and Krav deck. You either see that coming because I can only play 1 half, or I play both halves on the same turn with a life gain trigger somehow, and I just win the game right there. Yep. So I get where the play group is coming from because I run this type of combo in a deck. It's not fun to win against, and I try not to win that way very often.
Yep. Here's the next question that I'm curious about this, though, too. The more I'm listening to you talk is, Jeff, does your play group, this is something to think about, do they get upset because this is the way that you win every time? Because I do have the Kiki Jiki combo inside of my Alesha deck, and I don't always use it to win. And that could be an issue. Having that security blanket of the combo win is fine, but if that's what you're going for every single time, that's what's going to leave a sour taste in people's mouths. If you can't win any other way with the deck, then they're just going to be like, well, that is what it is. So now when we play with you, we have to sit back and just wait for this to happen or just lose. So then no one gets to play the game.
It's like a shot clock almost. Like,
yes.
How many turns do we get? That was a great question, Chris. I like that you brought this up. And I also think you brought up, how fast do you do this combo? Is it turn 3? Is it turn 10? I also think that kind of plays into this specific type of win con, these Lab Man Thassa Oracles, is once you do it, you've done it once, that's cool. Well, how fast can I do it now? So now you're going from maybe a mono blue deck to a Dimir deck. Still doing the mill stuff, but now you have access to all these creature tutors that you can probably combo out, turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, which again probably isn't fun for the rest of the table.
Yeah. I mean, unless that's how you're going to play, and I'm just assuming by the way the play group's talking about it, they don't like that neither. So my best advice, for someone who is doing a deck like this, if someone's listening about that, see if there's other win cons in your deck. And if there is, try and focus on those. But having that backup in case, that board state becomes so far out of control that you just need to end the game, then you can end the game, And usually, if you're sitting on turn 20 and you combo off with a combo like this, if someone's complaining about it, then that's just, poor sportsmanship in my opinion. And as Max said, if this is like turn 3, turn 4, then it's a different ball game.
And you brought up a great point as well. If the whole pod is playing this way, we're talking a completely different scenario here. Yeah. And I don't think that is the scenario we're talking about where everybody's playing these type of decks.
Yeah, I actually ran into, I was glad that we got this email because I ran into something like this a couple weeks ago where one of the players in the store came up and, he's kind of one of those shop people that you just kind of like, yeah, listen to him in one ear out the other type of things. But he was complaining that someone countered one of his spells. And I was like, okay, well, explain it to me, and then completely regretting that I asked him to do that. And he explained to me that he had a painter servant on the battlefield, and he went to cast Ugin the Spirit Dragon. And I was like, and they countered it. And he's like, yeah, there's like blue players. That's all they ever do is counter spells. I'm like, dude, I would counter that Ugin. That's just, you're comboing right there. Because you're going to minus Ugin, wrath the board, and you're going to be the only one with anything on the board. And he's like, well, I'm like, no, Wells, that was just the proper play. I don't want to hear you complaining about that. Now go back and play. And, the rest of the night, that's all he complained about was getting countered. And I'm like, oh, man. Oh, just aggravating.
I mean, this is coming from the guy that turn 2 countered my Sylvan library. So, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, there are key times, it's just there you have to counter stuff in. So, I mean, that's another thing, if they're tapping out too liberally, as you say, Jeff, like what are they playing like? Because if you're playing colors that can't deal with it, then it doesn't matter if you're tapped out or not. Now if you guys are all playing blue and everyone's playing counter magic, then I understand tapping out too liberally because, you should just leave it up for counter magic anyways. But I mean, it's just, I think it's kind of open-ended as to, how your play group wants to play. So maybe that's something you need to discuss with them is be like, well, I want to play like this. You think that we could all play like this or something and see where they go with that.
Yeah, I really like that advice, Chris. I think it all just kind of comes down to the open discussion that you have with your play group, whether it's, a group that comes over to your house or at LGS. Just having these type of conversations probably will improve the play experience for everybody moving forward. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for writing in. So, Chris, let's move on. Dana and I were just in Chicago for a Commander Central get-together here. You were running the shop, so you weren't able to attend.
Yep. Pokemon tournaments, woo! No.
Yay, gotta catch them all.
Yeah, I'm a judge, so I'm one of the professors at the shop, so I had to be there to judge it, so.
I did not know you were a Pokemon judge.
Yep, they're called Pokemon professors, woohoo!
That's actually kind of cooler, to be honest. Do you get a lab coat? Can we get you a lab coat?
I should get one. Running around, Professor Squishy. Mwahahaha.
So, you have any questions about what happened over that weekend, Chris? I can
sure.
I
got a great question for you.
Yeah.
So, how was the greatest color combination of Magic? Better than green, right?
So I finally got to take my new Obosh deck out for a spin. This was a deck that was gifted to me through our Secret Santa program in our community. Listener John Egner actually built the entire deck for me and mailed it to me versus just giving me a list. So thank you so much, John. That deck was so much fun to play. It's a graveyard recursion-y, odd CMC spell tribal, and it's really fun to just, reanimate a triplicate Titan down to your graveyard that somehow has haste when it enters the battlefield and smack someone for 18.
Now, is Obosh your general or is Obosh that companion?
It is just the commander.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I got to play around with Brash Taunter that weekend. That was a lot of fun because, 2 to 9, 9 equals 18, 18 equals 36 to someone's face.
Yep. Yep. That's adorable.
I really enjoyed the deck, and I'm probably going to unbudget it and probably add some more expensive cards in that deck just to keep around for a while. And I think it's going to be one of my main stable decks moving forward.
Nice. I'm excited about that. I would love to play against it. I want to see, because I've looked at Obosh a few times, and I play Mogus, so I can't really play Obosh because I think Mogus is better, for how I want to play. But I've looked at Obosh before, and I'm like, God, this card would be so good if I could figure out where to put it. So I'm curious to see how that deck plays.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm going to say it's glass cannon-y because I'm not used to this play style of you got to have all your pieces in place and then go.
Yep.
Versus something like Dramoka where I can just play something, sit around for a while, play something again, drop Dramoka, we're good to go.
Yeah, you're definitely spoiled in the Dramoka deck, especially with the life gain.
Right, yeah. So yeah, I am a Rakdos fan. I said it, it's now on the internet, it's public.
Ha 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 ha. Suck it, Green. Max is coming to the dark side.
Green's still the best, but Rakdos is fun. Rakdos is a lot of fun.
I will sway you, young Padawan.
I just finished watching the newest Boba Fett today.
Oh, did you? I haven't watched any of it yet. I'm waiting for it to finish, and then I'm just going to binge it all.
I only watched this newest episode. I've skipped all the rest, because, I've heard mixed things on the internet, so I'm like, but then I got this episode spoiled for me yesterday on Twitter, so I'm like, well, I might as well watch it now.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm waiting for it to watch it all, because it's like, I don't want to do it one episode at a time, because when I did The Mandalorian like that, it kind of like, now I want to watch the next one, or it's like, I don't know if I want to watch the next one, and so I just want to watch it all, so it's just like, just watch them all at once, so then I get a full feel for the entire show, and then I can make a judgment call. For
sure. Back to Chicago. Any more questions here, Chris, or else I can just kind of delve into the whole weekend.
Chicago. How cold was it?
Much warmer than Eau Claire. It was like 15 to 25 degrees all weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. What else do I need to know about Chicago? The Bears still suck.
Yep.
So, yes, I know the Packers suck too. So all you Bears fans, you can tell that, so mad at them. I'm glad that they lost. They kind of deserve it. Anything else? So how was the Magic games? I heard that there was like 40 people there or something like that.
I think on Saturday, which would have been the busiest day, we had almost 30 to 32 people.
Okay.
It was cool. So thank you to Seeb for setting all this up. It was in a community center of like a retirement village that his company does IT for. So he was able to rent the space for us for the whole weekend. He put it all together. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, we had 32 people, I think, on Saturday. I think I've played close to 24 games in 2.5 days.
Okay. So here's a question for you. That many people, I know that in our local shop, we attempted for a while, trying to split pods up, get people to play with other people. And lately it's been turning into like the cliques, like stick together.
Yep.
How did you guys manage with that many people to actually get, like everyone spaced out and like swapping up pods and all that? Like when someone got done, did they just like stand there with like a cue card up in the air, like, hey, I'm ready for a game or something like that? Or what'd you guys do?
It was pretty, I think it wasn't super organized, but it went well. I think it was just one of those like, hey, this pod is done, and oh, look, there's someone standing there. And, I'm kind of relate this to like a Command Fest or a Magic Fest. Like, people were there to play Magic versus, a Tuesday night at our shop. I might stop in, I'll play a couple games, but then I'll come up to the counter and BS with you and the employees.
Yep.
You kind of take that aspect out. You can sit down and BS with who you're playing with and maybe, other people you've met through our community. But I swear games were firing the minute one could. People found a table, fired up a game. And I think it also helped that, a lot of the people here are from our community, and so it was more about putting faces to screen names or faces to voices if you play on virtual EDH.
Yep.
So I think that was another thing that helped the whole, you don't have to wait a long time for a game, because people just wanted to, hey, yeah, we talked about this, now we can talk about it in person, and I get to meet you and shake your hand and give you a hug if that's what you want to do. So I think that definitely helped as well.
Okay. Sweet. I'm glad that all worked out.
Yeah. We got to see some cool decks. Have you ever played Kingdoms, Chris? The Commander format Kingdoms. It's a 5-player format.
No, I might be thinking of like the 5-pointed star or something like that. That might be what it is.
This is similar.
Okay.
So Kingdoms is a little different. So there's a king, a knight, an assassin, and like 2 like bad guys, just 2 generic bad guys.
Okay. I've heard some people in the shop talking about stuff like that, but I've never actually played it.
Yeah. So everybody picks a card face down that designates your role, and the only one that gets flipped over is the king. So everybody knows who the king is, and the king starts at 50 life, and goes first. That's like the biggest rule of the game. The king wins if he's the last one alive, or if the knight is alive as well, because the knight has to protect the king. The 2 generic bad guys can kill whoever they want, but they also want the king dead. Like, their goal is to kill the king.
Yep.
And then the assassin wins if the king dies, but the assassin can't kill the king unless someone else has died already. So, like, if for whatever reason the king's at 10, but nobody has died, if you're the assassin, you have to have someone else die before you kill the king. So it's pretty politicky. It's a lot of fun. I played one game of it. How does the knight win? The knight wins by keeping the king alive. So if the knight and the king are alive last, the knight wins as well.
So it's like two-headed giant almost.
Right, but you don't know who the knight is.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. It's kind of like Secret Partners, but I got to play one game of that with a bunch of budget decks, and it was a lot of fun. And I guess we called it a draw because the king was playing a budget Kamina morph deck, and he's like, I can keep stopping you guys, but I'm eventually going to deck myself, so I guess I will eventually lose.
That's what you need, Elixir of Immortality. Shuffle all that stuff back in there and start over.
I Rakdos charmed their graveyard.
Oh, no.
when they went to cast that black card from Fate Reforged that returns all, like, morph cards from your graveyard face down or to your hand or something like that. Yeah, he went to cast that. I'm like, Rakdos charm. He's like, oh no. I'm like, yep, you just sacrificed all your morphs because you're going to bring them back.
Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Okay.
Yeah, we saw a lot of cool decks. We got to see the newest Sisay. So, like, the Modern Horizons Sisay. Is that the one that its power goes up equal to the number of colors of permanents you have?
Yes, the 3-mana one from Modern Horizons, yep.
One listener was playing a Shrines deck with that. That was a lot of fun to play against.
I do like that they're doing all the shrines. I think it's very interesting play. I've seen a lot of people buy them in the store. I've never actually seen a deck played before with them, so if someone's got one floating around, I would love to play against it.
I almost did locked a Brago game out like on turn 4 on Saturday morning, but I chose not to.
Wow.
Yeah, when you draw the nuts, you kind of play the nuts, right? Like,
yeah, because it doesn't happen very often, so you just see if you can do it, and then you're like, cool, yeah, so you guys want to play again?
For sure. I got to see Dana do his kill someone with Sign in Blood. But here's the thing. He Narsetted reversal. He cast it, Narset reversaled it, and then cast it again for the final 2 points of damage. He had to do 4 to a player.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. What else? Yeah, we just played a lot of games. There's so much Magic. I mean, we played on Saturday from about 10 in the morning to 1 in the morning.
Yeah. Now, is this something that people have discussed that they want to do like consistently, or is it going to be, this was just a one and done thing?
I definitely think there will be another one. Where and when, unknown, but everyone was super excited this could happen and wanted to do it again. So I'm sure we'll set something up again in the future. I just don't know when, but it was definitely worth the weekend, and I hope we can do it again, and, you can come along next time as well.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, so we'll probably talk more on Chicago next week when Dana is back.
Yep. Yeah, I don't want to dig too hard into it, because I'm sure Dana's got a whole bunch of experiences and all that, and
he'll be back next week. So before we wrap up the show, we've gotten quite a few Kamigawa and Neon Dynasty previews out. I think those started last week. Have you gotten to look at any of them, Chris?
Yeah, a few of them.
Yeah. anything catch your eye?
How about the fact that they brought back Phyrexian mana, which I thought that they were never going to do. I thought that was like, they said, we are not going to do Phyrexian mana again because it kind of broke the game. It made, spells free to cast and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, someone shows me this Tamiya with Phyrexian mana on it. And I'm like, wait, what's going on here? And what leads me to believe this is we see Jingataxis here. And I wonder if the set coming up, Brothers War, is going to deal with the actual, going back to Phyrexia now. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I was shocked to see the Phyrexian mana. I like how it's wrapped into the story of Jingataxis taking over Tamiyo, essentially, mind controlling her. But I think, not only is it Phyrexian mana, it's Phyrexian hybrid mana, which is 2, that's a left-right combo right there for commander stuff. But I do think they might have fixed it by, like, if you choose to use the Phyrexian mana, the Tamiyo comes in with less counters. I think maybe that's a way to fix it.
Yes.
And the fact that we haven't seen any other Phyrexian mana in this set, makes me kind of happy as well.
Yeah, I wonder if this is a test. And they're like, okay, we're going to test this and see if it works this way. And if it doesn't, hurt anything. Because that Tamiya's only 4 mana. Granted, yeah, she comes in with 2 fewer loyalty counters, so she come in with 3 instead of 5. For 4 mana, whereas you could cast her for the 5 mana, she comes in with 5. I mean, horse apiece either way. But, like I said, I wonder if they're testing this so then when, in the future, if they're like, okay, it's not as bad as what it was, years ago, because we have up the power of cards, so maybe they will just bring it back on instants and sorceries as well.
Yeah, I definitely think you're right. I think it's a test, and I bet they're trying to figure out how to make this the downside of the Phyrexian mana impact instants and sorceries. So, like, if it's a burn spell, if you pay the Phyrexian mana, it deals, 1 less damage or 2 less damage, whatever, it is, whatever they decide. I bet that's how they're going to start doing stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, no more get probes and stuff like that.
Oh, come on.
I miss Gitaxian Probe a lot in Modern. I never thought it was a broken card per se. But I do understand, how easy it was when you had all the delve stuff that they brought into the game, so.
Yeah. I'm super psyched to find out that the Wanderer is the Emperor of Kamigawa. That was a cool story point to learn.
Interesting. I haven't actually looked at any of the story of this set. I was too busy digging into the story of Crimson Vow, because a buddy and me both had we're wondering why Chandra was on Innistrad, because we're like, wait a minute, wasn't she on Kaladesh, like, trying to get her power back or something like that? And why is she on Innistrad and all that? So I haven't even dug into this story. We're too busy, like, going deep diving in that story.
Sleuthing, trying to figure that out.
Right? I'm just like, I don't know, is Chandra the new, Twilight chick, where she's, like, all about the vampires and she wants to become a vampire or something? I don't know. You got to figure this out. I mean, this is research terms,
Oh, lordy.
So, this set overall, though, that I've seen of it, seems pretty good. There looks like there are a lot of good cards in here. There's not a lot that are actually, like, setting me up, like, triggering me, like, where I'm like, oh, this card is awesome. I want this card super, super bad or anything like that. But it should be a cool set overall.
Yeah, I was kind of feeling that way about there wasn't any, like, big cards that I'm like, oh, I definitely need that. I mean, the Boseiju, the green Boseiju land is super good, and that's obviously reflected in the price point for pre-orders because of that channel ability. There's some cool Enchantress stuff. Tons of vehicles. I love that. And the fact that they make a Megazord is pretty cool. Or Gundam, depending on your preference, people out there.
What's the other one? I forgot the other one. So it's Megazord, there's a Gundam, and then what's the one where they have like the 10 vehicles that all go into one?
Probably.
Dana would know this one because it's an old show, so. Dana, you're not here to fix
Voltron.
There we go, Voltron, yes.
It's the same thing as a Megazord.
No,
and
it's
Voltron,
not
there are only 5 tigers. There's only 5 Voltron lines. I definitely like that we get some more frogs coming in to help the stuff from Crimson Vow and whatnot.
Yeah, there's definitely quite a few different, like, weird creature types. And that's what I like about the Kamigawas, because it's more of a, I guess, Japanese fantasy-esque type thing. So, like, you're getting, like, the turtles and the rats and the stuff like that, which would be within your Asian horoscope lore or something like that, I think is what they would call it. You know, where
Sure.
you have like the different
The calendar.
yep, the beasts are the different parts of the calendar and stuff like that. And I wonder if that's where this all comes from, 'cause I don't remember some of these like animals being like specifically for Japanese lore, but Kamigawa always, everyone's always like, oh, it's all about like Japanese stuff, and I'm like, it reminds me more of like a Asian descent of history type of thing, more than straight one type.
Yeah. The only other card I kind of want to talk about is the one legend that really got me going was previewed yesterday. Let me scroll up on my Scryfall here. Ishin, 2 Heavens as 1. So this is a 3/4 for Mardu, red, white, black. If a creature attacking would cause a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So Panharmonicon for attacking. What do you think about this, Chris?
Well, I think Emperor Palpatine went to a different place because it looks like he's got a red lightsaber. Like literally, this is what it looks like. Except for he's dual wielding it, so maybe it's Darth Maul. Maybe that's what's going on here. This is him in a previous life or something. This card, I like it, but it is an attack trigger that causes a triggered ability of your permanent whenever you're attacking. And I don't know how many decks really run attacking triggers per se. Most of the time they're ETB triggers. But I definitely think within those colors, that's where you get good attack triggers. So this will be very interesting. Like, you attack and create tokens. So, I'm attacking, creating tokens. So I'm going to trigger that again to make more tokens. I got to think what other stuff these colors do. That was a big one that popped in my head was the 4-mana cat from M21 that spits out 2 other cats that are tapped and attacking. Well, why not spit out 4 of them? So, it'll be very interesting.
I can tell you that per a Scryfall search of looking for whenever a creature attacks in Mardu, there are 306 cards you can choose from.
Wow.
As of yesterday. So there are tons. I mean, you could technically double your Alesha trigger.
Technically, yes.
This is one that I'm debating building. I'm building another 3-color deck here, Chris. Look at me, I'm grown up. But
I can help you with it.
But I also feel like it's going to be like the super popular one, so I don't know how fast I want to build it.
Yeah. I mean, I want to get this card for sure. I'm hoping that it comes in an extended art or something like that where I can get it in a foil or a different art of some sort, just because I think it's really cool looking and the coloring on it in foil I think should look good. Now, this is to say hopefully Wizards doesn't botch the foil system again and it turns into a horrendous card, because that'll make me mad.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like there are 2 different arts. The normal frame, the extended frame, and then the alt art with the gray-haired samurai versus the black-haired samurai above the city. So there are 3 printings of this. I'm sure the alternate art will come in foil as well.
I like the original art better because his swords they glow more.
Yeah, they're more upfront in the artwork.
Yep. All right, so for me, big card that popped out at me that I really, really liked, that think I'm going to have to pick one of these bad boys up, is Hidetsugu Devouring Chaos.
Are you going to try to collect all of them?
What do you mean?
So this was like the first card they ever previewed from this set, right?
Yep.
So this comes in like 5 different neon like
I
alt
see
arts.
them now. Yeah, they're all different backgrounds. Interesting.
Yep. And I think they only come in collector boosters.
Well, it's a good thing I know someone who cracks a lot of collector boosters. So, interesting.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that they came in that many different boards. But no, I just want the card because I think this card's really strong, and I want to put it in my Mogus deck. Now, I don't want to put it in my Mogus deck for this Sacrifice Creature Scry too. That's child's play. Who wants to do that? No, I want
me and some of my decks. I do.
I want to pay 3 mana, tap him, exile the top card of my library, and then I may cast that card. I mean, that's just good value, in Rakdos. Need a little bit of extra cards. So when I'm exiling that card, if it's non-land, why not just shoot you for Chandra ability? So good. I mean, I think it's gonna be a good card overall. I'm not sure if it's gonna be like super popular by any means, but I think it'll be really good. Now, as a commander, I think this card could create a very powerful deck. I'm not sure how to build it per se, but I think it could make a really powerful deck.
Yeah, I don't know how you would make it super powerful either, but if anyone can, you will, Chris.
Yes.
Okay, any final thoughts on Kamigawa? Or we can probably say this, I'm sure we'll be doing a full set review in our unusual styles like we do later down the road.
I am looking forward to the set. I am hoping that the set does not get delayed or anything, or product doesn't show up late or anything, because I know I've been getting a lot of pre-orders from people, because I know a lot of people are super excited about this as well. So that's pretty much all I got to say about it, aside from the fact that these lands that are on here are wicked sick, and they better come, like pull in every pack, just so they're not super expensive. That's all I got to say.
I don't think that's going to be the case, but I hope so as well.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I agree. This set looks pretty cool. There are definitely cards I like in here. There are definitely some cards that are going to go into my decks just because there is some sort of enchantment sub-theme within this whole set so far, in artifacts. So, I'm looking forward to it. And, it comes out in a couple weeks? End of February?
February 11th is pre-release for this set, and February 18th is release. I always get those two screwed up because the week after pre-release for this is pre-release for Pokemon. So at the store, I've been trying to get this memorized, but I always screw the two of them up. But that is pre-release will be next Friday from when we're recording. We're recording on Thursday, February 3rd. So February 11th is pre-release for this set.
Awesome. I might try to stop in and do one this time.
I will be there all 3 days, so...
I wouldn't be shocked if you were.
Well, you want to know why. Now, I'm going off on a tangent here.
Tangent it up, but we got time.
So, 2 of the shop employees, one of the managers, decided months ago, they're like, oh, we're going to go to Anime Con Milwaukee, which is the weekend of pre-release. None of us realized this, so it's all like, cool, yep, they put in, they got, it off, and then all of a sudden, pre-release numbers are coming up, and the dates and all that, and I'm like, oh no. So now there's only going to be me and one other person there. So this is going to be glorious.
That does not sound fun now that you mention it like that.
Yeah, well, I got majority of the week off, so it'll be, because we're open like 12 hours a day on pre-release weekend, so. But I got majority of the week off, so that's an upside to it, but those evil people, I wonder, they just knew it. I know it.
Maybe. That sounds like collusion to me, but, you figure that out, Chris. Well, this is going to wrap up today's episode of Commander Central. Thank you to Jeff for the email. Hopefully our responses gave you some information that you can take back to your playgroup. And of course, if you have any other questions, feel free to write us. And thank you again to Sieb for putting the awesome weekend together last weekend in Chicago, and we'll talk about that more next week with Dana. But until then, our show is edited by Rafael Garcia. You can find them on Twitter at Ursa Bearwalker. You can find Dana at Dana Roach. You can find myself at CMDRCentral_Max. You can find Chris at YSquishy1. Our podcast theme is Retro Future Dirty by Kevin MacLeod, licensed via Creative Commons, and we will be back next week, hopefully with all 3 of us. But until then, I'm Max.
And I'm Chris.